We get you up to speed on the latest in sports. I'm Sean Yao. University of the Philippines standout Carl Tamayo is going pro after playing 2 seasons in the UAAP. In a social media post, Tamayo announced that he will be taking his talents to the Japanese B-League. The UAAP Season 85 Mythical team member prefaced his announcement with a message of gratitude to the UP community, his coaches, and the basketball team management. Tamayo played a key role in UP's championship run in Season 84. In the recently concluded Season 85, where the Maroons finished as runners-up, the forward averaged 14 points and 8 rebounds a game. However, he did not disclose which team he will be playing for in the Japan B-League, which has become a popular destination for Filipino Cagers. And in the PBA, the Bay Area Dragons is facing a tall order in its bid to extend the final series against Barangay Ginebra as import Andrew Nicholson remains out for Game 6. Nicholson has not played for the guest team since injuring his ankle late in the Dragons' Game 3 loss to the Gin Kings last week. Adding to Bay Area's woes is Glenn Yang, who sat out Game 5 after spraining his ankle. Yang is expected to play limited minutes in Game 6 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, their opponents have also been bitten by the injury bug, as Ginebra captain L.A. Tenorio is not sure to play in the next game. Tenorio suffered a groin injury at the end of the first half in Game 5, causing him to miss most of the second half. Teniente missing Game 6 means that his streak of 736 consecutive games played is also on the line. And with Nicholson out, the Dragons are getting much-needed help from their other import Miles Powell, who has been reactivated for Game 6. Powell also suffered a foot injury before the playoffs, which forced the guest team to switch to Nicholson. This will be Powell's first time playing against the Gin Kings. Through 8 games this conference, the import averaged a whopping 37 points a game, along with 8 rebounds and 2 steals. And over at the NBA, Brooklyn Nets superstar Kevin Durant will miss at least 2 weeks due to an MCL sprain in his right knee. Durant was injured on a night where he surpassed NBA legend Dominique Wilkins for 14th place in the all-time scoring list, playing against the Miami Heat on Monday. KD was also sidelined for 6 weeks last season, also because of a knee sprain. This will be a big blow for the Nets, who have won 14 of their last 15 games with Durant and co-star Kyrie Irving at the forefront of the offense. The 2014 MVP, who led the first fan returns of All-Star voting, is averaging close to 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks this year. One sports bar in Portland is making waves for showcasing women's sports, aside from the usual serving of drinks to customers. Let's explore the sports bra in this Bloomberg video.
When my friends and we went to go watch the NCAA championship game, and it was Notre Dame against Mississippi State, possibly one of the best games in NCAA history. I remember hugging my friend and being like, oh, that was the best game ever. And she goes, oh, it would have been so much better if the sound had been on. That entire time, I hadn't realized we'd watched the entire game with no sound, which is a really huge aspect of spectator sport. I said, the only way we're ever going to watch women's sports in its full glory is if we had our own place. The sports bra was really started as a women's sports bar, and I think when people hear that, they think, oh, a sports bar for women, but it's actually a bar for women's sports. It really has resonated with so many more people than I could have ever imagined, not just for women and not just for sports, but like this kind of intersection of so many different things. So I think about that when I see young kids in here. You know, nobody loses when you push towards equity and, representation. When I did open, a huge concern was lack of media to show on TVs. Not only did I want a space to represent what is out there, but I wanted a space that shined a light on what's not out there. statistically, 40% of all athletes in the US are women, and yet 4% are being shown on TV. So I had written a post on my Instagram, and I basically said, there'll be times when the TVs are off. And that says just as much as having a game on. These so-called weaknesses in the business plan, like that is a definite weakness, but using it to the advantage of bringing attention, drawing awareness. How can you be a fan of something you can't see or that you don't have access to? When you have large corporations putting some money where their mouth is and doing it, and then seeing the ROIs on it that are like astronomical.
Historically, women's sports have been hard to find, and women's sports fans have had to work really hard to access the athletes and the teams and the leagues that they love and want to support. From a viewership perspective, in terms of broadcast, our agreement with Paramount and CBS allows for the league to distribute all of our content through CBS Sports Network, and Paramount Plus. Most of our games being digital, and our digital streaming business and viewership is up almost 30% year over year. And our championship game set the record for the league's most watched ever game, with 915,000 people in average over the course of the broadcast, which is a 70% increase year over year from last year's championship. We have an opportunity to really capture not just the avid fan, but the casual fan, who can now be able to just flip their TV on and see our incredible athletes who are the best in the world performing their trade.
I honestly feel so fortunate that the sports bra opened when it did, because I really think we are on a turning point for women's sports, representation, access, equity, that we have never seen, like the growth of it. I mean, obviously Title IX was 50 years ago, and we've seen a lot happen since then. The plan was just to support, empower, and promote girls and women in sports. I'm one person, I opened one bar, and now it feels a lot bigger than that. It's become like a example of what is possible. Maybe this bar will help other people in other sports bars or restaurants change the channel and get more access to women's sports or show more women's sports. And then that kind of is a domino effect.
5 years ago, I think women's sports was thought of as a cause and was historically funded to the extent there were sponsors out of CSR or philanthropy budgets as really more of like a gender equity play. And I think now what you're seeing is the ability to unlock incremental dollars and investment, because brands, investors, and media partners see the business of women's sports and see the value proposition. So we know what we should be commanding from the marketplace, not because it's the right thing to do or it's social impact, but because from a business perspective, the data supports it.
Sports Bra!
We have more sports stories for you after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching The Game on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. Esports appeared to be the next big thing in the entertainment business, but teams are now struggling to make ends meet as advertising dries up. Let's watch this Bloomberg Quick Take.
Over the past few years, billions have been invested in an industry that promised to rival pro sports leagues. But now, the esports organizations who sought to pave this future face a tough reckoning. Is the dream of esports already dying? Giants of the space, Team Solomid and 100 Thieves, have terminated dozens of positions between them. Others who own teams in supposedly lucrative leagues have sold to third parties. The consultancy firm Deloitte expects only about a third of European esports teams to turn a profit this year. Money seems to be much harder to come by. The problem is that esports teams are dependent on advertising. They had hoped to fill stadiums with screaming fans and secure lucrative broadcast deals, but those have largely failed to materialize lately. About 60% of their revenue still comes from advertising and sponsorships. And when the global economy slows, ad budgets are usually the first to be cut. What's more, many of the advertisers were crypto companies who've been having their own tough time. FTX, the bankrupt crypto exchange, had pledged $210 million for Team Solomid to change its name to TSM FTX. The deal is now on hold. Finally, venture capitalist interest has cooled. Back in 2018, they invested about 3 times more in esports than this year and are less willing to cover losses. Much of the hype previously dedicated to esports is moving over to gaming influencers who live stream themselves on Twitch and YouTube. The cash crunch has left a slew of teams fighting to ensure it's not game over.
Tier 1 Entertainment's Dota 2 team, Blacklist Rivalry, survived Singapore's Bleed Esports 2-1 at the Dota 2 Pro Circuit. Blacklist made key adjustments after losing Game 1, helping them secure the next 2 matches. The nail-biting Game 3 lasted almost 50 minutes, with Blacklist taking the victory at the end of their debut game. Blacklist Rivalry consists of an all-Pinoy team: Timothy Tims Randrup, Mark Raven Fausto, Carl Baldovino, Carlo Boss Cupalad, and Nico A.U. Barcelon. Up next for them is Team Fnatic. And for the latest in sports, visit our website at onesports.ph. Meantime, the news day continues later at 4:30 p.m. We'll see you then. I'm Sean Yao. Thanks for watching.